Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a fantastic day. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. In a recent interview, Grayscale investment CEO, his name is Michael Sonnenschein, stated he can't imagine why the United States Securities and Exchange Commission wouldn't want to protect Grayscale investors and return the true asset value to them. A little bit of a backstory for those of you who have missed it. Since around 2013, a large number of companies within the cryptocurrency space have been desperately trying to get a Bitcoin ETF of some type launched, and a physical ETF, not a futures ETF, but where a company is legally able to hold onto Bitcoin and create a fund for it. Around 2016, 2017, I'll say 2017, doesn't really matter, a company called Grayscale popped out of nowhere and announced that they were going to be creating a Bitcoin fund. It would not be an ETF, but it would be relatively similar. Almost choked there. Jeez Louise, why'd I make that voice? Would be relatively similar. And as such, eventually, they thought or believed that, as other companies had tried before to get a Bitcoin ETF created, and they default already kind of had one and everything but the name, they announced that they were going to try and go through the SEC to get their Bitcoin investment trust turned into a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund. However, they were not aware, as many of us were not many moons ago, of exactly how corrupt the SEC actually is. And since 2013, 2014, the United States is the only country on the planet that has said no to every single Bitcoin ETF proposal. So, as Grayscale still has their Bitcoin investor trust, or whatever the thing is actually called, and it has not converted to a Bitcoin ETF for some reasons. I don't know all the complications of it, but the digital value of Bitcoin within their fund has decreased dramatically. It's actually 50% of what a normal Bitcoin at any given time would be. And as such, Grayscale has actually filed a lawsuit against the SEC. This was a couple of months ago when they re-said no once again to the conversion of their trust into a Bitcoin ETF, because now they're stating, this is Grayscale, that if the trust would convert into a Bitcoin trust, a Bitcoin ETF, therefore, then the value of the fund that is on a discount would disappear, and it would then have the true value of the Bitcoin. Now, I'm going to explain something to you, and this is probably the easiest thing in the entire world. Years ago, for some reason, a lot of nearly all companies at some point got into Bitcoin or lied to us saying that Bitcoin was terrible, but they also secretly got into Bitcoin. What a lot of them learned is that the best thing to do is to actually hold Bitcoin. Why do I say this? Because Bitcoin itself is actually finite. The problem with a fund like Grayscale's fund is that while the company itself is holding Bitcoin, the actual fund or the trust is not denominated in the actual Bitcoin that are actually being held, and this is why there is a difference in the price. A lot of companies also realized a couple of years ago, and this is something that everyone in crypto should also be paying attention to. A lot of banks have already, first of all, they do this with the US dollar, and they do this with stocks, and they do this with other things. Where basically you take an asset and kind of divide it into smaller pieces without actually showing that you have the other smaller pieces, and or multiplying it by simply saying, hey, I have $1, but you lend out $10 at the exact same time. The idea being, you don't really expect everyone to cash in their $1 at the exact same time as they're trying to make more money. And that also has happened before in the past with other companies as well. They basically created fake Bitcoin saying that they had more and then ended up going bankrupt. So anyway, just thought I'd give you a little history lesson, because this Grayscale thing is probably going to be going on for a very long time. In a 25th of February interview on What Bitcoin Did, a popular podcast hosted by Peter McCormick, Sonnenschein explained that the SEC, he says, violated the Administrative Procedures Act by denying approval for the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust to be a spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund in June 2022. The idea basically is that when you go through the process of trying to create a multi-billion-dollar thing into another multi-billion-dollar thing, you have to do it in a regulated way. However, all the companies who have, therefore, as far as we know, have gone through the process of trying to create a Bitcoin ETF, not only have they been denied, but the other portion of that is they went through all the legal channels that they would have had to go through. They went through it. They were still denied. Many companies even hired former workers of the SEC to actually do the paperwork for them. Obviously, they knew and knew. They knew and knew. They knew and know exactly what the SEC is calling for when it comes to paperwork. They hand in the paperwork that has exactly what the SEC wants, but going on 10 years, they've still said no to every single ETF proposal. He explained that this act ensures the regulator doesn't show favoritism or act arbitrarily, adding that the SEC acted arbitrarily by approving Bitcoin futures ETFs while rejecting Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust conversion. For those of you who missed that as well, the only reason why we have Bitcoin futures and Bitcoin futures ETFs is because the former president of the United States administration believed that Bitcoin was an actual threat, and they told the SEC to let Bitcoin futures through because they knew that people who would be using Bitcoin futures would be betting against the price of Bitcoin. And that's why for 2 years we were told that every Friday, whenever the Bitcoin futures options would expire, that Bitcoin's price needed to go down. And I screamed in earnest, no one listened, that it didn't make any sense. It was literally paper Bitcoin that wasn't actual Bitcoin. And that for some reason was driving down the price of Bitcoin. You can look it up. We've gone over here before. I've showed you the news story, but I'm sure there are new people who didn't know that the former president's administration actually is the reason why we have Bitcoin futures, is so people could bet against the price of Bitcoin. This was actually confirmed by the former head of the CFTC. I feel like he didn't mean to say it, because when he said it on stage, he kind of looked like that kind of thing. But yeah, he kind of let it slip. Sonnenschein noted that when the SEC started approving the first Bitcoin ETFs, Grayscale took it as a sign that the SEC was changing their attitude to Bitcoin. He said there is a couple $2 billion worth of capital that would immediately go back into investors' pockets on an overnight basis if the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust was approved as a spot Bitcoin ETF, as the fund would give back up its net asset value. Once again, it's because the thing that people have purchased are not real Bitcoin. They bought paper versions of Bitcoin, which is more or less a gigantic IOU that says eventually when we do become an ETF, you'll be getting the full value of your Bitcoin. And that's why the value keeps going down. And we all know the SEC does not care what happens to investors, what happens to anyone else. So, yeah. That's the Grayscale. It's still pretty mad, and I would be too, because they've been trying to get something for the last couple of years, and they're probably never going to get it. And I would not be surprised if I expect it's 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years when we're probably going to actually see a US-based Bitcoin physical ETF. It's going to be given to some other company first, and Grayscale is going to have to be at the back of the line, because logic and corruption. That's the Grayscale investments. Trying to get a couple $2 billion of capital back into their investors' pockets news. How nice of them. And yeah, let's move on. Also it just keeps getting weirder and weirder to me. Circle, a digital currency company from Coinbase, has revealed that the Citizens Trust Bank, an Atlanta institution established in 1947, would be storing $65 million worth of USDC, that is the United States dollar Coinbase coin, This decision follows a string of previous ones in which Circle announced allocating money to several banks within the United States. They're doing this because they're trying to be as regulatorily compliant as humanly possible. Part of the problem is once again, it is pseudo illegal in this sense for anyone to create their own version of the US dollar. If you try and print your own US dollar, buddy boy, you're going to get in trouble. However, cryptocurrency companies and exchanges have figured out how to make their own coins with the backing simply of another US dollar or assets that equate to that. And since we heard about the alleged slow downfall of the Binance US dollar because of the backhanded thing that Circle/Coinbase did to them just a couple of weeks ago, now Coinbase has ramped up their efforts to try and make it seem as if that their coin is more regulatorily better than everyone else's coin. And, you know, once again, there's a reason why I don't like Coinbase. To provide just two examples, on the 1st of April, Circle announced that BNY Mellon, I think it's the oldest bank in New York, would be holding USD reserves. And in June of that same year, the Boston-based firm revealed that New York Community Bank would be holding the stablecoin reserves as well. As part of the USD reserves are also being managed by BlackRock and a fund that is registered, which is still crazy. You realize that the company that owns everything is officially into Bitcoin. They are mining and collecting Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin's price is not over $125,000 off of the news that BlackRock, the company that owns the world, they're worth, what is it, $11 trillion? Why everyone isn't running into the cryptocurrency market, I simply do not know. In a fund that is registered with the US SEC, as Circle revealed in November, Cynthia Day, the president and chief executive officer of the Citizens Trust Bank, said, yada, 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 we're happy, crypto's amazing, can't wait to do it, amazing, fast, amazing. So I still feel like something's wrong. It could just be the tinfoil hat that's hanging off one of my ears, but something's very fishy about all of this. This is, once again, I'll keep saying it, this is the year where we are supposed to be getting a bunch of central bank digital currencies and stablecoin regulation. They keep all using FTX as the reason for it. If you have been reading the news and have a brain, you know that this is all because they're trying to destroy anything that mimics the US dollar, as the US is going to be releasing their own digital dollar. And I guess this is a way to get into the game as well, or stay in it, as the SEC is going after everything else that major US companies are also trying to get control of because of corruption. That's the Citizens Bank and BlackRock, who's been in crypto for a very long time, and they're buying up all the Bitcoin, but people seem to not pay attention, and they will pay attention when Bitcoin is back above $70,000 news. And yeah, let's move on. In what seemingly is as popular as Shiba Inu right now, recent data from the community-based open source data provider Dune Analytics shows that 13,600 wallets canceled their orders on OpenSea in the past week. Popular opinion attributes the development to actions related to a migration of users from OpenSea to another NFT platform known as Blur. It says a total of 13,600 wallet addresses canceled their OpenSea orders in the past week due to Blur's loyalty program, which is almost 5 to 6 times the historical average, according to Andrew Hong, 527 Dune. Is that English? I don't know what that's supposed to. Anyway, the point is, for those of you who've missed it, you probably haven't, or maybe you have, who knows. A new NFT platform launched, or has been around for a while. It's now more popular than Coinbase, than OpenSea, and people keep leaving their platform, OpenSea that is, to go to Blur. Blur recently had an airdrop. They announced that they're going to be, was it millions of dollars? I think they're going to be airdropping millions of dollars onto the users of their platform. I think in multiple airdrops. I don't know exactly. I'm not. It's a lot going on in the crypto space. I can't tell you exact dates and stuff anymore. But this is in the news almost every single day. I assumed I was the only one who was not satisfied with OpenSea, but alas, here we are. So cool. Once again, like I said, it's similar to Shiba Inu in that it's now in the news every single day. I kind of assumed they would kind of, go away somewhere else, but apparently Blur is it, and everyone keeps using it, and everyone's looking at all these metrics to see exactly what's going on. So wonderful. That's the Blur news. BLUR. I feel like that's going to be kind of difficult to find online. Like, have you ever Googled something and you're like, oh, snap, I can't find it because it has like a super average name? Do you type in like Blur NFTs or like Blur Marketplace or like Blurrer? Like, it's like naming a website dog and then you type in dog and like, oh, I can't find it because, there are other dogs in the planet. That's the OpenSea news. And yeah. Let's move on. In weirdly dystopian, why did they do this news? A Colombian court recently hosted its first legal trial in the Metaverse, with the court magistrate saying that it felt more real than a video call. Really? Okay. What I'm trying to say is that there's a difference between me holding up a phone to my head and being in a metaverse that looks ugly. I assume the Colombian court did not have a, what's the name of that game? Unreal Engine 95 looking courtroom. So I don't know how he thought it felt more real than it. According to a Reuters report published on the 24th, Colombia's Magdalena Administrative Court held a court case in the Metaverse on the 15th of February involving participants in a traffic dispute. The case lasted 2 hours and it was brought 2 hours for traffic dispute. Okay, was brought by a regional transport union against the police, and it will progress partially in the Metaverse. The verdict could also be given in the Metaverse as well. That just sounds ridiculous. The participants appeared as avatars. Oh my gosh, I kind of want to watch this. Were they like cats? Was one of them like Batman or something like that? Like were they able to choose their avatars? Were the avatars like those really weird thing that Facebook was trying to do that had like no shoes or something like that? Was it also taking place? The participants appeared as avatars in a virtual courtroom with Magistrate Maria Quiñones Triana dressed in black legal robes. Was it like a video image of her face? Was she also an avatar that was dressed in black robes? Ooh, did it look like remember Nintendo Wii? Remember like when you played Wii Sports, like the little floating characters? Was that her, but they edited in like a black robe on her? I'm asking real questions that nobody else wants to ask. It was noted that Colombia is one of the first countries in the world to test legal proceedings in the Metaverse because it probably looks ridiculous. With Quiñones telling Reuters that it felt more real than a video call. She's lying. That's absolute nonsense. Have you seen what some of the Metaverses look like? They look like the first games that you would have played on like Windows 98. Like, if you don't know any better, you're like, whoa, this looks super real. Remember that pinball game? I used to love that pinball game. I used to play it all the time. And I was like, whoa, this looks like almost-ish a real pinball because I have no other digital reference to see what it looks like. But now that we do have digital references for everything. Anyway, the point is, this is one of the weirdest stories I've ever read, like literally in my entire life. I don't know why they did this. I don't know if they were trying to be cool. I feel like we're a good, I want to say seven sounds believable, like a good 7 years away from this actually being a thing. It's kind of like video games. Like they looked crazy years ago, but now they look, oh wow, that game looks kind of cool. A lot of the metaverses now, like they make themselves look blocky and or more animated because we really don't have anything with the capacity. Like we need, I think what was it? I think we need 6G or 7G. Like really hyper speed internet to be able to actually deal with a metaverse, like how we assume a metaverse is going to look. Kind of like Ready Player One, kind of like we need mega fast internet, and we currently as a planet do not have that infrastructure. So I kind of want to find the video of this just to see what they look like. And I know it's going to look ridiculous. And I know Anyway, that's the, whoa, Colombia's living in the future news. That's crazy. I wonder how they did that. I'm sure that didn't look crazy at all. News. And yeah, let's move on. Also in, what? That's crazy. No way. The United Kingdom and its finance ministry are planning to lay the groundwork for new digital currency regulations following the collapse of, you guessed it, FTX, because now they think you're worth something. Only once FTX had actually collapsed, now it's time to give you regulations. Not over the last 14 years. Don't forget about that. Financial Services Minister Andrew Griffith commented in a recent interview by saying, our view is, I was going to do it in a British accent, but I won't do that. He said, our view is that this reinforces the case for clear, effective, timely regulation and proactive engagement with the industry. This includes a proposal to bring centralized crypto asset exchanges into financial services regulation for the first time, as well as other core activities like custody and lending, end quote. It says FTX will likely go down as one of the biggest debacles of the cryptocurrency space. It wasn't, listen, I'm going to keep scrolling past. It says the United Kingdom is clearly concerned that something like this could happen again, and it feels like legislation, blah, 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 blah. He said in a statement, digital assets, specifically stablecoins, and blockchain infrastructure have very beneficial use cases by making secure payment services accessible to all. To ensure the United Kingdom becomes the global crypto industry hub, it will not. The regulations need to balance protectionist measures, with practical application. So, oh my gosh, what? That's so crazy. It's almost like we could have foreshadowed this at the beginning of the year. Every country is trying to release their garbage central bank digital currency version of a stablecoin. And as such, once again, why I keep believing that FTX was some kind of an inside-outside job, because, say it with me, FTX was not the only crypto exchange doing what they did. Don't forget that we got that news 3 weeks after from Binance that they were also mixing customer funds with the Binance funds. So it was not just FTX. So basically every country trying to make their own stablecoin this year. They're trying to figure out a way to get the stablecoins regulated under their own whatever kind of schemes or whatever that they've currently been trying to do. So cool. I hope that the UK gives proper regulation for their citizens. I think it is a bit of a shame that the last 10 to 14 years saw no regulations at all, probably except for here's how much tax you have to pay us. I think it's a shame that FTX continues to be like we get it. Every single thing is still talking about FTX is the worst thing ever. Cool. Fantastic. So now let's move on. Let's give proper regulations. Let's have a proper Bitcoin ETF. And let's finally get someone who, can we not just have Hester Pierce as the head of the SEC? I feel like she'd be more than fair. If something was actually garbage and shouldn't go through, I feel like she'd pretty much push it to the side. Anyway, here's to high hopes for the year. But, low expectations because of corruption. So you get it, magistrates. You give those regulations that people have been waiting for a couple of years. And then when you give bad regulations, don't be surprised when people take the bus or the Eurostar and go to mainland Europe because less taxes. Yeah, that's the UK regulation news. All right. Let's move on. Sure, why not? I don't really know. Okay, Nadem Nahas, a 39-year-old former U.S. state of Massachusetts employee, that was worded weird, reportedly is facing charges of planning a cryptocurrency mining operation in a remote portion of a local school. Court documents claim he stole nearly $17,500 worth of electricity to power his supercomputers. According to the recent coverage, Nahas set up his crypto mining machines in the basement of a high school. Prosecutors insisted that he vandalized the facility, stole $17,000 worth of electricity to power 11 computers. The machines were supposedly hidden in a crawl space next to a cooling system. So, little side note, just little tiny side note. you know how, like, okay, so long story short, we currently, as a society, as a planet, actually have the capacity, like right now, this isn't a futuristic thing. We have the capacity to live exclusively off of solar, wind, and hydroelectricity. We actually don't need any other energy source. Like, we can do this right now, but the billionaires, they want to continue living off of petrol. I watched something, this was a while ago, I don't remember when it was. They were explaining that because of this capacity that we have now, if we built all of these systems, we would essentially live in a world where electrical bills were no longer a thing, because we would constantly have such a huge surplus of electricity. We'd actually be figuring out ways of using other new things or creating new technology that would actually need huge amounts of electricity, even more so like trying to figure out ways of making rocket ships that could use this extra electricity to be able to propel themselves to other planets and all these other things. So me personally, whenever I see news like this is not the first time. This has happened so many times in the cryptocurrency space. It happened at least 50 times within China. There was one really big case and happened in Russia. It happens all over the United States. Basically, there's always someone who's trying to mine cryptocurrency. But they don't, they themselves don't want a $17,000 bill. So they set it up somewhere else. A lot of times people have been, caught doing it at hydroelectric plants or many other places that have a gigantic surplus of electricity. But then these people end up getting in trouble. I get it. It's not their electricity. But what if it was? What if it just belonged to everyone? What if we didn't have a discussion anymore about... Anyway, I think too far in a utopian sense of how the world could be, as opposed to... This was also quite popular. This news story was out there. As opposed to a news story about some guy who used electricity from a school as he was trying to mine crypto. I don't know. Anyway, so apparently they say that he did this and now he's in trouble. And I think the worst outcome, the absolute worst outcome would be if this person got like 10 years in prison, because the people who destroyed the world's economy in 2008, 2009 and destroyed 40% of the global wealth, that's 40% of the global wealth, none of them ever got in trouble. So, yeah. Anyway, this is someone used electricity that was inside of a school. It wasn't his, and now they're... And I hate also when people kind of parade these people around like they've, found some real tough, rough criminal. Do you know that like real stuff is going on in the world? Like, why not actively go after these people? Anyway, the point is, whoa, electricity is, I have no idea how that works. It's almost like thunder or something like that. Hopefully one day somebody uses a kite with a balloon and a coin, maybe. I assume there was a coin. Something metallic was also there. How did he hold on to the kite and didn't get shocked himself? Did he get shocked himself? Because electricity is way too fast. You can't how long was the kite string? You can't hold on to the kite. Electricity hits the top of the kite. You don't know what's going to happen. Did he couldn't have let it go in 1/38 of a second. If you know what I'm talking about, kudos to you. That was something we were taught as kids. But now that I think about it, it seems a little bit... Wouldn't he have exploded? Am I missing something? I need to look that up after this video. Because electricity is quite fast. He wouldn't have seen it hit the kite and then let it go and went, oh my gosh, I'm going to get shocked by this. Because that's the story of how he, and I air quotes here, discovered electricity. So was he shocked by it? Did he put it in a jar? How did he take the electricity from that moment and be like, wait, let me plug in my iPhone. I'm going to stop talking. That's the 39-year-old man was found mining cryptocurrencies. He stole $17,000 worth of electricity. We currently have the technology to be able to make sure that food and electricity are free for everyone, but got to ask the billionaires about that one. And yeah, let's move on. Just not going to load? Okay. As always, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all once again for watching, listening. I don't know why it's just not loading. Watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. I appreciate all of it, all of it, all of it. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.